When it comes to legendary wrestling families like the Harts, the Anoa'i's, the Von Erichs, and the Hennings, to name a few, they're all well respected wrestling families. But when it comes to the Guerreros, they are one of the most prestigious lucha libre families ever. From Chavo Sr. to Hector and Mondo, and to top it all off, the man who makes this family legendary, Gory. With Eddie being the youngest brother, expectations were at an all-time high. All eyes were set on Eddie as he was the one that helped elevate an already established legendary family. I'm KB the Mark from WBPTV, and this is the Eddie Guerrero Files. Now, without further ado, let's cue that intro.
Latino Heat.
Born Eduardo Gory Guerrero Lanes on October 9, 1967 in El Paso, Texas. He is the youngest son of Gory Guerrero, who is one of the greatest Mexican-American wrestlers of all time, also being the reason why we know the last name Guerrero. His mother, Helena, was the sister of wrestler Enrique Lanes. Now, growing up, everyone called Eduardo Eddie. Now, with being born inside a wrestling family, he was around it a lot. Eddie was only 3 years older than his nephew Chavo Jr. They both would attend wrestling promotions that were held by Gory at the El Paso County Coliseum. With Eddie and Chavo being so close in age, Mr. Guerrero would have the two wrestle each other in between matches that he had booked. Eddie would attend Thomas Jefferson High School, where he would participate in sports. One sport that he took off in was amateur wrestling. In 1985, he would graduate and attend the University of New Mexico. Eddie would later transfer to New Mexico Highlands University, where he would enter collegiate wrestling, or otherwise known as folk style wrestling.
Latino Heat.
At the age of 19, Eddie decided to pursue family business and moved to Mexico in 1986. September 5th, 1986, Eddie made his wrestling debut for the promotion CMLL, wrestling under a mask, also under the name The Original Mascara Magica. After owning his craft for 6 years in CMLL, Eddie would jump to one of the biggest Mexican wrestling promotions, AAA. Eddie would meet Vicky Lara in 1987 in his hometown, and after 3 years of dating, Eddie found out they were expecting a child. So with the advice from his father, Eddie and Vicky would get married on April 24th, 1990. At the age of 23, Eddie would become a father when the couple's first daughter was born on October 14th, 1990. In 1992, Eddie would join AAA. His gimmick was already popular. At the same time, his gimmick was owned by CMLL. Eddie would show up at a televised AAA show. He would show up as Mascara Magica, only to unmask and get beat down. For here on, Eddie would wrestle without a mask despite a few occasions. In AAA, Eddie would team up with El Hijo del Santo as the newest version of the Atomic Pair. This was also a team of second generation wrestlers. Eddie would shortly turn heel on Santo. He would align himself with Art Barr. These two would be known as the Pair of Terror. The duo quickly became the most hated team in Mexico during this time. Along with Barr and Eddie, the duo were joined by Conan, Chicano Power, and Madonna's boyfriend. In this newly stable, the breakout kings were Eddie and Art Barr. Guerrero would go on record saying that no matter how many members they had, the stable was all about his friend, Art Barr. In the late 1994, the duo's big break would soon approach them. ECW owner Paul Heyman had been searching all around the world for the most talented up-and-comers. Paul had heard about Eddie and Barr and had made them an offer that would change the lives of both parties. During this time, Eddie would also travel to Japan and wrestle for New Japan Wrestling under the gimmick Black Tiger. Tragedy would soon strike Eddie on November 23, 1994. Just a day before Thanksgiving, Art Barr would pass away in his sleep due to a drug-related heart attack.
How did you find out that Art passed away?
Oh, God. I got a call in Japan when it happened. I was in Japan. I think I'm not sure if it was the beginning of the tour or it was towards the middle of the tour. And Because my soon-to-be ex-wife, she called me and she was crying. I said, "What's the matter?" And she was, "Art's dead." I said, "What?" She said, "Art." Well, I didn't know which Art she was talking about. My best friend from El Paso, Art Barr. And I thought she was talking about the guy from El Paso, because, you know. So what happened? Was he in a car accident? What? He goes, "No, young Dean." I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I think it's an OD." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she goes, "Art." And that didn't sound important in that one. Art Barr, and I mean, just get chills today. And I said, "No, he's not dead." I couldn't believe it. I said, "Call a hospital right now and tell me where he's at." "He's dead." "No, he's not." And I couldn't accept it. It took me about a good hour to accept it. I just couldn't believe it.
Latino Heat.
April 8th, 1995, Guerrero made his debut for ECW, pulling a surprising win against Too Cold Scorpio, winning the ECW Television Championship. His time in ECW was hard for him as he was dealing with the death of his close friend. He will still find the courage to put on McMarvelous matches by carrying his friend Art Barr with him in every match by using his move, the Frog Splash. While in ECW, Guerrero gained a close friendship with Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko. The duo of Guerrero and Malenko will put on a series of McMarvelous matches. On July 21st, 1995, Guerrero would drop the title to Malenko. Then on July 28th, 1995, he would gain the title back. On August 25th, 1995, he dropped the title back to Too Cold Scorpio. That very next day, Malenko and Guerrero would wrestle their last match. The duo competed in a 2 out of 3 falls match that ended in a draw. Now, the whole locker room emptied out and made their way to the square circle to carry out the two, all while the crowd chanted, "Please don't go." This just showed you how great Eddie can be, especially against someone who he has chemistry with. In 1995, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Eddie Guerrero jumped ship to WCW. In fact, Eddie appeared in WCW as a jobber in 1989, wrestling against Terry Funk. Also, in 1991, where he would work a dark match at the World War III pay-per-view. Eddie will make his televised WCW event competing at the World War III 3-ring Battle Royale match for the vacant WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Now, Guerrero in the last 9, making him and the Giant, otherwise known as Big Show or Paul White, were the only competitors that made it this far under the age of 35. Guerrero would be eliminated by the Four Horsemen, with Randy Savage going on to win the whole event. In 1996, Eddie began to gain a lot of popularity. Now, during this time, WCW and New Japan had a working relationship, so Guerrero would work the 1996 Best of the Super Juniors tournament, where he worked under the name Black Tiger, picking up the win against Wild Pegasus, also known as Chris Benoit, in the semifinals and winning against Justin Thunder Liger in the finals.
Latino Heat.
Mid-1996, Eddie began chasing the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship, having hard battles against the likes of Conan, Ric Flair, and DDP, coming up short on all. Fast forward some time, the WCW US title is now vacant, so WCW held a tournament to determine the winner at the December 29th edition of Starrcade. Guerrero was watching through the competition week after week, showing how hungry he was for this title. At Starrcade, Eddie would meet DDP in the finals. Now, this story didn't end like the others. Eddie picked up the win and will go on a 77-day reign before dropping it on March 16, 1997 at Uncensored to Dean Malenko. After losing the US title, he would now set his attention on Chris Jericho's WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Guerrero would challenge Jericho at Clash of Champions 35, but came up short. Eddie would get a rematch at Fall Brawl, where Guerrero would finally pick up the win. Guerrero then began feuding with Rey Mysterio Jr. The two would clash at Halloween Havoc in a title versus match, where the duo would put on a fucking McMarvelous match. This match became the most memorable match between the duo in WCW. This also became the match that put Rey Mysterio on the map.
Latino Heat.
Eddie's time in WCW so far has been, if not great, then good. He was also a rising star in ring and popularity. Now we all know the WCW story. We all know the talent they had on their roster and the people who they decided to push along with the booking decisions. So it wasn't shocking when Guerrero, Benoit, Malenko, along with a lot more stars started to state their frustrations to upper management about pushes and booking decisions. Eddie would demand WCW President Eric Bischoff to either give him a main event push or a pay raise for family purposes. Bischoff would refuse to do either, so Guerrero would take matters in his own hands and demand his release on live TV. With this being done, Guerrero was sent home for a few months. Management were probably hoping for a change in attitude and heart since they were stirring something up for Guerrero. WCW was planning on capitalizing on a real incident by having Guerrero form the LWO. This group was a play on the NWO group. This group also contained Latino wrestlers that WCW refused to push. With this new direction, Eddie was all in for it until he soon realized that WCW was just trying to connect the dots that was shown on TV a few months ago. After expressing his feelings to management, WCW still refused to give him a push. On New Year's Day 1999, Eddie would get into a horrible car accident that could have ended his life and others when he would fall asleep behind the wheel. This accident would put an end to the LWO storyline. Doctors believed his wrestling career was over, but Guerrero did not. In fact, he made himself work to prove the doctors wrong, and on May 31st, 1999, Guerrero made his return to WCW. When Eddie returned, he would form the Filthy Animals with Conan and Rey Mysterio. They would feud with groups Deadpool and The Revolution. WCW was basically over at this point, so when they fired Vince Russo and replaced him with Kevin Sullivan, this had made the locker room uneasy. Wrestlers were already being overlooked, and with Sullivan becoming head booker, this just showed that nothing was going to change. For more information about this situation, go check out the Chris Benoit files. Guerrero and many others requested their release, and on January 19, 2000, WCW granted Eddie his release. Guerrero was now a free agent. Where would he go? The only place that makes sense is WWF.
Latino Heat.
Guerrero, Benoit, Malenko, and Perry Saturn all made the jump to WWF on the January 31st edition of SmackDown. They were brought in as a newly formed stable called the Radicals. They began a feud with DX. Now Malenko and Guerrero were supposed to win their match against the New Age Outlaws, but Eddie had hit his signature move, the Frog Splash, but in the process, he would dislocate his elbow. Eddie would panic and have Billy Gunn roll him up for the win. The Saturn and Benoit match went on how it was supposed to. Now can you imagine if that one little botch didn't happen, the change that could have happened for Eddie's career? Not only Eddie's career, but WWE as a company. Eddie was interviewed about his debut match and his thoughts on it.
What are your memories of making your WWF debut? I believe it was January 31st on Monday Night Raw in Pittsburgh.
My memories? Slipping on the rope in the Frog Splash. That's my big memory.
Was that the next night?
No, that was the first night. The next night, that's when I dislocated my elbow.
Okay, that's right. Did you have any pressure on you to get back in the ring before you were ready? And then again, because it's your big opportunity, you're put in a big spot.
It wasn't pressure. They asked me to come in. I told them I wasn't going to be ready for another 3-4 weeks to wrestle. And they asked me if I could go, and I said, yeah. You know, I'm not going to put it all on them because it wasn't. I said yes. I could have told them no. But I said yes.
Latino Heat.
In March 2000, Guerrero began working as a heel, also finding himself in a love triangle between Chris Jericho and China. With him being in this love triangle, he began chasing the WWF European Championship that was held by Jericho. The Raw after WrestleMania 2000, Guerrero won the European title after China turned on Jericho, aligning herself with some Latino heat. May 21st, 2000, Guerrero returned babyface after defending his title against former stablemates Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko at Judgment Day. July 25th, 2000, Eddie dropped the title to Saturn at Fully Loaded, finishing his first European reign at 111 days. China and Guerrero began bumping heads a lot, especially when the Intercontinental title was vacant, where WWF set up an intergender tag match against Val Venus and Trish for the title, where whoever picked up the pinfall will become the Intercontinental Champion. China would come up with the pinfall for the title. Now Guerrero wanted this title as well, and he would find his way into the Intercontinental title match against Kurt Angle and China. During the match, Angle would knock out China, and as Guerrero is checking on her, he accidentally picks up the pinfall win for his first Intercontinental Championship. China didn't like this at all, and she would say Eddie would do anything to pick up the win. In reality, when you think about it, this was really the beginning of his lie, cheat, and steal motto. Shortly after this, China and Eddie would split, and this would lead into another heel turn where he aligned himself back up with the Radicals. The newly reformed Radicals would pick back up their feud with DX. Eddie's title reign would end at 78 days, where he would drop the title to Billy Gunn on an episode of SmackDown. At WrestleMania 17, he would gain his second WWF European title. Benoit would leave the Radicals to focus on his singles career, while the remaining members went on to feud with Lita and the Hardy Boys. Guerrero was split from the group when he sided with the Hardys during the feud. April 26, 2000, Eddie would drop the European title to Matt Hardy on an episode of SmackDown. Now that car accident that Eddie got into took a toll on his body, especially when he came back earlier than expected. Sometime in late 1999 and early 2000s, Guerrero developed an addiction to pain meds, which started to take a toll on his career. In May of 2001, WWF would write Guerrero off TV and send him to rehab. As a result, he missed the whole invasion angle. November 9, 2001, Guerrero was arrested for drunk driving. 3 days later, WWF fired him. Now Eddie was where he wanted to be. In WWF, he gained something that he didn't have in WCW, and that was money, power, respect, and a push. So you know Eddie wanted to get back on good standards.
Latino Heat.
Eddie would grind his way back to the top and work in the indies. He would stop through promotions like ROH, WWA, IWA, and New Japan. WWE saw the grind that Eddie put in and was impressed, so they would bring him back on April 1st, 2002 on Monday Night Raw, attacking RVD. He would go on a feud with RVD that led to his second Intercontinental Championship win. May 27, 2002, he would drop the title back to RVD on an episode of Monday Night Raw. That same day he dropped the title, Benoit made his return from injury. Guerrero was set to get a major rub with his upcoming feud with the Rattlesnake Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin had his problems with WWE at this point and had walked out of the company, so all of his storylines were pushed off. Guerrero and Benoit would join forces as a team and be moved to SmackDown. While on SmackDown, the two would go in different directions. Benoit went on a long feud with Kurt Angle, and Guerrero had a small stint with Edge before teaming up with his nephew Chavo, forming the Los Guerreros. This officially became the beginning of his motto, lie, cheat, and steal. The Los Guerreros will hold the tag titles for about 3 months before teaming with Tajiri due to Chavo coming down with an injury. Eddie would shortly turn heel after attacking Tajiri when they dropped the tag titles to the world's greatest tag team. Eddie's eyes were set on the WWE United States Championship. Vengeance 2002, he would win against Benoit. Guerrero would then go on a feud with John Cena, coming up with the win with the help of a returning Chavo. Los Guerreros will go on to win their second tag titles as a team, but making Eddie's third tag title reign. Eddie then began one of his most funniest feuds with the Big Show. The funniest part is when Eddie gave Big Show some laxative-laced burritos. No Mercy 2003, Eddie dropped the US title to the Big Show. 4 days later, the Los Guerreros would drop the tag titles to the Basham brothers. Chavo would turn on Eddie, turning Eddie babyface. The two would then feud against one another. After this feud, WWE was ready to give a mega push to both Eddie and Benoit. January 19, 2004, Eddie would win a 15-man battle royale to become the #1 contender for Brock Lesnar's WWE Championship. No Way Out 2004, Guerrero will win his first WWE title against Brock Lesnar, pulling off a very shocking but yet exciting victory. This win made him a Triple Crown champion and Grand Slam champion as well. Guerrero would be set for another big feud. In my opinion, this feud with Angle was his most challenging. At WrestleMania 20, he went on to defeat Angle, while Benoit, who won that year's Royal Rumble, faced Triple H for the WWE World Heavyweight title, picking up the win. while WrestleMania ended with Benoit and Guerrero celebrating in the ring. What a sight to see. After his feud with Angle, Guerrero began feuding with JBL. During this feud, Eddie would do a bad blade job where he would end up cutting himself a little too deep. And during a match on SmackDown, Eddie would go into shock. After Eddie's feud with JBL, he will begin feuding with Rey Mysterio, and this is the feud where I believe Eddie did his best work.
Latino Heat.
November 11, 2005 was the last episode that we saw Eddie. He was set to represent SmackDown in that year's Survivor Series match. Due to his death, he was replaced by Randy Orton, who became the sole survivor at the pay-per-view. November 13th, 2005, Eddie was found unconscious in his hotel room.
Shoulders slumped.
Yeah, and I say that with all due respect.
of course.
Everybody knows
Mexican time.
what Mexican time is.
Yeah.
So he runs on the plane, and right before the doors closed, and he gets on, and I go, "Hey," and he goes, "Hey, what's up, man? I didn't know you were going to be on this plane." So he gives up his first class seat and comes back with me. So we hung out and stayed together. It was like just a treat, it really was to sit next to each other. And we were on different shows at the time, so we didn't see each other all that much.
Right.
So we sat next to each other and we were watching a movie, and he looks at me and he's talking and stuff, and he kind of nods off as he's talking to me. I say, "Oh man, he's really tired," And then he kind of wakes up and like, "Oh, hey," and kind of goes. We went and watching a movie together, and we get to Minneapolis. I didn't think anything of it. We get to Minneapolis, and we go to check in at one of the Marriott.
Yeah, the one by the airport.
By the Target Center. No, the one by the Target Center.
Oh, okay.
That everybody was staying at. So we go there, and and I was like, "Hey man, we used to room together, all the time," and we decided, "Hey, we'll just get our own rooms." Okay, no problem. So we're checking in, and as we're there, we see Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes comes up to us, and he's not Michael Hayes anymore. He's Freebird. He's the Freebird. He's been drinking, hanging out.
He's the beer wolf.
Yeah. And he kind of mad dogs Eddie, And I didn't really notice it, but Eddie,
what do you mean mad dog?
Mad dogs. He kind of stared him down.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Stared him down, but I didn't really notice it, and Eddie didn't. Eddie, after Michael leaves, goes back to the bar. Eddie stops and looks at me and goes, "Did you see what that mofo did?" So what do you mean? "Yeah, he's staring at me." I'm like staring at you? Like, he's like, "Yeah." Eddie's pissed, and I said, "All right, what do you want to do? You gonna go beat him up?" Because we were just, if he's gonna get in a fight, I'm gonna get in a fight, and vice versa.
Right.
So he's like, "Nah, we'll give him a pass." I said, "Okay." So we literally gave him a pass. So the night before Eddie died, really, Michael Hayes didn't know how close he was to getting beat up. Literally, we were gonna go in there and drag him out, and beat him up. So we said, "Okay, hey man, well let's why don't we go work out in the morning?" And just as we got there, we see Chris Benoit, and Benoit goes, "Hey man, what's up guys? Hey, we're going to bed, but we're going to train 8 a.m. Let's meet down for breakfast 8 a.m. We'll go train before the show. We always did, and then we're going to go to Target Center." Okay, great, no problem. So I go to my room. Eddie goes to his room. Well, then I get a call from Eddie, my cell phone. He says, "Hey man, can I talk to you?" And I say, "Yeah, what's going on, man?" And he goes, I just really I got to talk to you." I said, "Okay, hold on. Let me run downstairs real quick. 8 a.m. We'll go train before the show. We always did. And then we're going to go to Target Center." Okay, great. No problem. So I go to my room. Eddie goes to his room. Well, then I get a call from Eddie, my cell phone. He says, "Hey, man, can I talk to you?" And I say, "Yeah, what's going on, man?" And he goes, I just really I got to talk to you." I said, "Okay, hold on. Let me run downstairs real quick. Let me take care of some stuff downstairs." I don't know if I was, getting an extra key or whatever I was doing. So I went downstairs, and then I call Eddie to his room, 8 minutes later, and I go, "Hey man, you want to talk?" And he goes, "Nah, I'm okay. I'm cool." And I said, "Are you sure? Let's talk." And he goes, "Nah, I'm cool, man. I'm okay. I'm here." He's like, "No, I'm good. I said, "All right, man. Well, I'll see you in the morning. We'll go work out." Okay, cool, no problem. I think I had a beer. Then went to bed. I was going to wake up and go work out. At 7 a.m., I got a call from one of the security guards in the hotel. It says, "Chavo, yeah, hey, this is security in the hotel." I'm like, "All right, why are you calling me?" He goes, "Well, your uncle is I don't know how he knew we were there, or I was there. He wasn't there that night. I guess the word got around, whatever." And he goes, "Your uncle's passed out." I said, "Passed out?" He goes, "Yeah, he's passed out in the bathroom." And I'm thinking, the bathroom? And we had just talked on the plane that Eddie was sober for 4 years. So I was like, passed out? Did he have a relapse? Oh no, come on, really?
But also, how would the guy know it's 7 in the morning?
I was like, how? So he's passed out in the bathroom. I'm thinking he's passed out in the bathroom, and in the
lobby,
or something like that. So I go, okay, I'll be right down. And the security guard goes, no, I'll come to your room. So he comes up to my room, and he comes gets me. I'm still half out of it, and we got in late the night before. So I'm coming down, and he takes me to Eddie's room. I said, what do you mean his room? So I guess he explained to me that Eddie had missed a couple wake-up calls.
Yeah.
So they went to knock on his door, and the latch was on his door. Mm-hmm. Well, so whenever that happens, they're knocking, no answer. They cut the latch off. So as I open up, the latch is already cut off, and I walk in, and I see Eddie face down in the bathroom. He's face down. I mean, just like, and I looked at him, kind of like, still thinking, well, wait a minute. I'm still coming to my senses. And I'd seen Eddie passed out from, drinking or pills or whatever it was, 20 times in my life.
Right.
But of course, this was years and years before. So when I looked at him, I'm like, anybody else, I mean, if I would have seen, just any random person, I'd be like, you're passed out. What the heck? Let me get him up. So I see Eddie's down. I'm like, okay, let me assess the situation. What's going on? So I put my hand by his nose, and there's no breath, but I hear a couple gurgling noises, and then I go, this isn't right. I'm feeling him. He's warm. He's warm. He's not like, I'm like, okay, this isn't right. Let's pull him out. So I talked to the security guard, and we pulled him out and turned him around. And so as soon as I see his face, when we turn around, I said, I start panicking. Okay, this really isn't right. Call 911 now. And so they're calling, 911, and we're giving them, mouth to mouth CPR, and I'm freaking out. I'm yelling at him, going, Eddie, stay with me, come on, Eddie, come on. Basically,
do you think he was still alive?
He was still alive because he was warm.
Wow.
And then I saw him go from warm to cold. He died right there.
Wow.
Right there. And they called 911. The ambulance came, and they were giving him CPR and everything their way, and they're just like, he's gone.
Fun fact, a young Sasha Banks attended the November 14th episode to see her favorite wrestler. When she came to the show is when she found out about Eddie's death. Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, OVW, and CZW all paid tribute to a legend.
Latino Heat.
Put in the squared circle. One of the best technical wrestlers, we still see the frog splash being used. Not only the frog splash, but the Three Amigos and the Eddie trick. I started with nothing and came out a king. I've been the one that's been ballin' for rings. It's been me and my team and we chasing the green. My team be the shit, we ain't ballin' for free. My team be the shit, we ain't ballin' for free.